Again, that's what I love about a healthy debate, a censorship-free debate. But yeah, I encourage everyone to find out this information. I've had a lot of it in the last few weeks, and I definitely have questions.
The thing I've been thinking about is how this is going to change society, which is kind of fun to speculate on.
Yeah, well,
I
tell
think
me.
the handshake may be gone. And maybe hugs, which, we're a social primate species. We need to touch each other.
Yeah.
That could change. But on the other hand, that could be a good thing in terms of spreading diseases. That is, the number of communicable diseases may go down because we're going to be more careful about our interactions with each other. And so maybe that's a good thing. There was a study published just before the pandemic started. I think it was a German study on the average body temperature is lower now than it was a century ago. 98.6 Fahrenheit body temperature. It's more like a full degree cooler than it used to be. Now, assuming that's true, the theory is that we're getting sick less often than people did in the 19th century when these standards were set. And so being sick a lot increases your inflammation, and inflammation causes body temperature to go up, and it's bad for all sorts of long-term health reasons. So that's a little bit of progress there, I think. And that may continue then if we're sick less often because we're all super careful. Maybe body temperature will go down, which would be interesting.
And what do you think about like communication and consensus when we can't shake hands, we can't see necessarily each other's faces because we're wearing masks, so you miss the communication or the context or subtlety of communication, and then we're on a digital platform with a two-dimensional screen, or God forbid, I'm communicating over a platform where I'm censored. Like, is this going to change progress for humanity?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think, and higher education as well.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that because, I've been recording my lectures remotely and posting them online. Anybody can watch them for free at skeptic.com, but I send them to my students with a quiz. But, at Chapman, my class is, 17 students this semester in a small seminar room with a lot of interaction with the students, the conversations ricocheting around the room, and I can look at their facial expressions and they can look at each other. Zoom is not the same as that. So I think that's not going to replace that form of higher education. But, the standard, like the professor standing up at the lectern yammering away for an hour and a half, and the students are just taking notes. Why do you need to pay $50,000 a year to sit in a brick and mortar building, to get that? You can get that like what we're doing right now or remotely on all these different platforms. And, the amount of audio content, like we were talking before the show started about, audio books and teaching company courses and podcasts, it's just endless high quality content. You can get knowledge for free. My friend Steve Pinker at Harvard, he made his course in rationality available to anybody to watch the lectures every week for free. It's like, you don't have to pay Harvard $50,000. You can get the great Steve Pinker, professor at Harvard, for free.
Yeah. But then nobody watches it, right? Or they don't follow through on it, probably.
Well, I don't know what the numbers are, but so here's what I'm thinking about here, that the cost of a college education has gone up disproportionately over the last 50 years compared to any other basket of goods, a carton of milk or a gallon of gas or a loaf of bread or, whatever that is in the basket that economists use to sort of track the rate of inflation, and you control for inflation, and you see the goods are about the same or they've gone up 1% or 2%. College education is like just skyrocketed. Why? And if you look at the studies, it's like the ratio of professors to students has been about the same. So it's not like we're hiring more teachers and making the classroom smaller so you get a more education. No, it's the bureaucracy, the administrators, the deans. This has gone way up, like tenfold. And they have to be paid, right? I mean, payroll is the biggest expense of any company or organization. So the moment you start hiring the dean of diversity and the dean of political correctness or whatever, the dean of microaggressions and the dean of safe spaces, they don't use those labels, but you know what I mean. Okay, these are paid employees. They're making six-figure incomes and they have health care and retirement and and insurance and on and on. This is expensive. Somebody's got to pay for that. And in the United States, the government has decreased the amount of federal funding for public universities. So they've had to go to private sources, and they can only get so many donations. So they charge it in tuition. And that's why tuition has gone up. Now, so what I'm getting at is that this could challenge universities that were right on the kind of financial edge of surviving. And this is going to wipe out a lot of them, I think. And then the other big ones that do survive, they're going to have to start cutting back on, I think, on all those administrative costs just to get the tuition down, because a lot of these parents who have been hit hard in the last 3 months, they're not going to be able to pay that tuition in the fall. So either the students aren't coming or the universities are going to have to cut back somewhere else. So I think that could all shake out in the next few years.